Hello, I'm Detective Rex, and you're in for a story that made my investigative instincts go absolutely wild. Today's case is one of those that proves sometimes the most shocking betrayals happen right under your own roof. Ready? Then smash that like button, hit subscribe, and let me know in the comments where you're listening from. Now, let's dive into a story of family drama, stolen trust, and the most brilliant revenge I've ever heard. Let's meet our guest today. Virginia, the microphone is yours.
Thank you so much, Detective Rex. When people ask me if I regret what I did, I tell them this. Sometimes you have to fight fire with fire, and sometimes you have to fight theft with glue. My name is Virginia. I'm 62 years old, and I'm about to tell you how my daughter-in-law tried to destroy my relationship with my son, steal from me repeatedly, and humiliate me in my own home. But what she didn't know was that this grandmother doesn't go down without a fight. What happened next changed everything between us forever, and I mean everything. You see, my son Tyler has always been the light of my life. When he told me he was marrying Chelsea, I was over the moon. I wanted nothing more than to welcome her into our family with open arms. I bought her expensive gifts for the wedding, helped them with their down payment on their first home, and even gave her my grandmother's pearl necklace as a wedding gift. I thought I was gaining a daughter. God, was I wrong. It started small, really small. Chelsea would come over for Sunday dinners and I'd notice things going missing. At first, I blamed myself. Maybe I misplaced my favorite lipstick. Perhaps I used up that expensive face cream faster than I thought. But then it became obvious. She was taking my things, right from my bathroom, right from my bedroom. And she was doing it with this smug little smile on her face, like she was entitled to everything I owned. The worst part? She was turning Tyler against me. Every time I tried to bring up her behavior, Chelsea would cry to my son about how unwelcoming and controlling his mother was. Tyler, being the loyal husband he is, would defend her, but I knew what I was seeing. I knew what was happening in my own house, and I was tired of being treated like a fool. But nothing, and I mean nothing, prepared me for what happened on that Tuesday morning in October. The morning that changed everything. The morning that made me realize Chelsea wasn't just stealing my belongings, she was trying to steal my dignity. And that's when I decided enough was enough. Are you ready to hear how far she pushed me? Because what I discovered that day will shock you. Hit that like button if you want to know what finally broke this grandmother's patience. That Tuesday started like any other. Tyler and Chelsea had stayed over the night before after a family barbecue. I woke up early, as I always do, and went to take my morning shower. But when I reached for my expensive salon shampoo, the one I splurge on because at my age, you take care of what you have left, the bottle felt light, too light. I opened it up and found maybe 2 drops left at the bottom. 2 drops of a shampoo bottle I had just bought 3 days earlier. Now, let me tell you something about this shampoo. It wasn't your drugstore variety. This was a $60 bottle from my hairstylist. $60 that I save up for because I want to feel beautiful, because I want to take care of myself. And this girl, this woman who married my son, had used almost the entire bottle in one night. But that wasn't even the worst part. You want to know what the worst part was? When I went downstairs for breakfast, there she was, sitting at my kitchen table, her hair looking absolutely gorgeous. Silky, shiny, perfect. She looked up at me with those innocent eyes and said, "Oh, Virginia, I hope you don't mind, but I used a little bit of your shampoo last night. The hotel brand stuff Tyler bought me just doesn't work with my hair." A little bit? A little bit? She had used an entire bottle and called it a little bit. But then she said something that made my blood run cold. She looked me straight in the eye and said, "Actually, I think I'll take the rest home with me. You probably don't need such expensive products anyway at your age, at my age, at my age." This 26-year-old girl was telling me that I didn't deserve nice things because of my age. Tyler was sitting right there at my kitchen table. And you know what he did? He laughed. He actually laughed and said, "Mom, don't be dramatic. It's just shampoo. Besides, Chelsea's hair is so much longer than yours. Just shampoo." My $60 shampoo that I worked extra hours to afford was just shampoo to my own son. That's when something inside me snapped, not broke, snapped, like a rubber band that had been stretched too far for too long. I smiled at Chelsea, the sweetest smile I could manage, and said, "Of course, dear, take whatever you need." But inside, I was planning something that would teach her a lesson she'd never forget. Something that would show her exactly what happens when you mess with the wrong grandmother. And as I watched her pack my shampoo into her purse like it was her God-given right, I knew exactly what I was going to do. But what I did next, well, let's just say it was more creative than anything I'd ever imagined. Are you still with me? Because the revenge I planned was so perfectly executed, so brilliantly devastating that even I was surprised by how well it worked. Make sure you've liked this video, because you're going to want to see how this grandmother got her justice. The plan came to me like divine inspiration. You know how sometimes the perfect solution just appears in your mind, fully formed, like it was always meant to be? That's exactly what happened. I went straight to the hardware store that afternoon and bought the strongest, clearest craft glue I could find. Not just any glue, mind you. I researched this. I read reviews. I wanted something that would stick like cement, but look exactly like expensive shampoo. For 3 days, I prepared. I emptied out an identical bottle of my shampoo and filled it with this crystal clear adhesive. I made sure the consistency was just right. The color was perfect. I even added a few drops of my real shampoo, so it would smell authentic. Then I placed it right back in my shower, in the exact spot where I always kept my shampoo. And then I waited. I didn't have to wait long. That Sunday, Tyler called and said they were coming for dinner again, and that Chelsea was feeling really stressed and might need to relax and maybe take a nice shower at my place. Relax. With my products, on my dime. Again. I told him of course they were always welcome. But inside I was practically vibrating with anticipation. Dinner was torture, pure torture. Chelsea kept making these little comments about how outdated my furniture was, how small my kitchen seemed, how she and Tyler were thinking of moving to a better neighborhood. Each word was a tiny knife, designed to make me feel less than, to make me feel like I wasn't good enough for my own son. But I just smiled and served her an extra helping of dessert, because I knew what was coming. After dinner, just as I predicted, Chelsea announced she was going to freshen up upstairs. She was up there for what felt like hours but was probably only 30 minutes. I could hear the shower running, and I kept having to excuse myself to the kitchen to hide my smiles. Tyler kept asking if I was okay, and I just told him I was feeling a little tired. Then we heard it. The scream that shook the entire house, a scream of absolute terror and rage, that made Tyler jump out of his chair and run upstairs 3 steps at a time. I followed, of course, taking my time, because I knew exactly what we were going to find. There she was, standing in my bathroom, completely naked, her hands stuck to her hair, not just tangled, stuck. The glue had done its job perfectly. Her beautiful long hair, that she was so proud of, was now a solid, unmovable mass, stuck to her scalp and her hands. She was crying, screaming, pulling at her hair, but nothing was moving, nothing was coming loose. "What did you do?" she screamed at me. "What the hell did you do to your shampoo?" And you know what I said? I looked her straight in the eye, with the calmest voice I could manage, and said, "Oh honey, I hope you don't mind, but I used a different product today. I figured you probably wouldn't notice anyway." Her face went from red to purple. She knew. She absolutely knew that I had caught her stealing and had set her up perfectly. Tyler was panicking, trying to help her, asking what happened, and Chelsea was sobbing, telling him that his psychotic mother had poisoned the shampoo. But I just stood there, arms crossed, and said, "Tyler, could you please explain to me why your wife is using my personal shower products without permission?" Again, the silence that followed was deafening. Tyler looked at Chelsea, then at me, then back at Chelsea. For the first time in years, I could see the wheels turning in his head. He was finally seeing what I had been trying to tell him all along. His wife was a thief, a liar, and a manipulator. But what happened next was even better than I had planned. Are you ready for this? Because what Chelsea did in her moment of panic revealed her true character in a way that I never could have orchestrated. And it was so shocking, so perfectly damning, that it changed Tyler's mind about her forever. Keep watching, because this is where my simple revenge turned into something much bigger than I ever imagined. Chelsea, in her desperation and rage, started screaming things that I never expected to hear. Things that revealed secrets she had been hiding from Tyler for months. "This is all your fault," she screamed at me while frantically trying to pull the glue from her hair. "If you hadn't been such a controlling bitch, I wouldn't have had to take your things. If you hadn't been so stingy with your precious son, I wouldn't have had to find other ways to get what I deserve." Other ways? What other ways? Tyler's face went white as a sheet. "Chelsea," he said slowly, "what are you talking about? What other ways?" And that's when she broke completely. Maybe it was the pain, maybe it was the humiliation, or maybe it was just the stress of keeping so many lies straight. But Chelsea started confessing to things that even I didn't know about. She told Tyler about the credit card she had opened in his name, about the money she had been taking from their joint account to send to her ex-boyfriend, about how she had been planning to divorce Tyler as soon as she could get half of everything, including the house that I had helped them buy. Tyler just stood there, watching his wife with glue in her hair, screaming confessions about betraying him in ways he never imagined. And the beautiful part, she couldn't stop. Once she started, it all came pouring out. The lies about working late when she was actually meeting her ex. The way she had been manipulating situations to make me look bad so Tyler would choose her over me. Even how she had been stealing my things not because she needed them, but because she wanted to humiliate me, to make me feel powerless in my own home. I hate her. Chelsea screamed, pointing at me with her one free hand. I hate how much you love her. I hate how she looks at me like she's better than me. I hate that she has things I want and acts like she deserves them more than I do. The truth was finally coming out, and it was uglier than even I had suspected. Tyler's voice was barely a whisper when he said, "Chelsea, stop talking. Just stop talking." But she couldn't. The floodgates were open, and years of resentment and deception were pouring out. She told him how she had never loved him, not really, how she had married him because he was safe and easy to control, and came with a mother who had money. That's when Tyler looked at me, and I saw something in his eyes that I hadn't seen since he was a little boy. He saw me, really saw me, not as the controlling mother his wife had painted me to be, but as the woman who had loved him unconditionally, who had tried to warn him, who had been protecting him all along. "Mom," he said, and his voice cracked a little. "I'm so sorry. I should have listened to you. I should have seen what she was doing." And in that moment, standing in my bathroom with his wife covered in craft glue and screaming confessions of betrayal, my son finally came home to me. But the story doesn't end there. Oh no. Because what happened when the paramedics came, when Chelsea's hair had to be cut off, when the whole neighborhood heard the drama, that's when the real justice began. And let me tell you, the universe has a way of making sure people get exactly what they deserve. Stay with me, because you won't believe how perfectly this all worked out in the end. If you're enjoying this story of justice served cold, hit that like button, and make sure you're subscribed, because the ending is going to blow your mind. It took 4 hours. 4 hours to get Chelsea's hair free from her scalp, and by the time the emergency responders were done, she looked like she had been through a blender. They had to cut off nearly all of her hair, leaving her with these jagged, uneven patches that made her look absolutely ridiculous. But that wasn't even the best part. While they were working on her, trying to remove the glue, Chelsea kept ranting about what a crazy old woman I was, how she was going to sue me, how she was going to make sure Tyler never spoke to me again. But every word she said just made Tyler angrier, because now he could hear it. Now he could hear the disrespect, the entitlement, the pure hatred in her voice when she talked about me. And then came the phone calls. Tyler found Chelsea's phone while she was being treated, and you'll never guess who was calling her. Her ex-boyfriend, the one she had been sending money to. When Tyler answered the phone, the guy started talking about their plans and asking when Chelsea was going to leave her loser husband and move in with him. Tyler didn't say a word. He just hung up and looked at me with the saddest, most grateful expression I've ever seen. "How long did you know?" he asked me quietly, while the paramedics worked on his wife, and I told him the truth, that I had suspected for months but couldn't prove anything. That every time I tried to warn him, she would turn it around and make me look like the villain. That I had been watching my son get manipulated and used, and it was breaking my heart. The divorce papers were filed within a week. Tyler had documentation of the credit card fraud, the money transfers, everything. Chelsea tried to fight it, tried to get alimony, tried to get half the house. But between the financial fraud and the confession she had made in front of witnesses, she got nothing. Nothing but a terrible haircut and a reputation that followed her everywhere she went. And Tyler moved back home with me for 3 months while the divorce was finalized. We spent that time really talking, really reconnecting, really healing the damage that Chelsea had done to our relationship. He apologized over and over, but I told him there was nothing to forgive. She was good at what she did. She was a professional manipulator, and she had fooled better people than him. But here's the beautiful irony of the whole situation. You know what Chelsea's biggest mistake was? It wasn't stealing from me. It wasn't manipulating my son. It wasn't even trying to destroy our relationship. Her biggest mistake was underestimating what a mother will do to protect her child. She thought she could push me around because I was older, because I was alone, because she thought I was weak. But what she didn't understand is that women like me, women who have raised children and survived heartbreak and built lives with our own 2 hands, we don't break easily. We bend, we adapt, we endure, and when someone threatens what we love most, we become absolutely unstoppable. 6 months later, I heard through the grapevine that Chelsea was working at a discount salon, trying to rebuild her reputation as a hairstylist. Apparently nobody would hire her at the nice salons because word had gotten around about what happened. Tyler heard the same thing and just smiled. "Karma," he said, "has a way of working itself out." And you know what the very best part of this whole story is? Tyler met someone new about a year later, a wonderful woman named Sarah, who treats me like family, who brings me flowers just because, who asks for my recipes and actually means it. When I told her this whole story, she laughed so hard, she cried and said, "Remind me never to steal your shampoo." But more than that, Sarah understands something that Chelsea never did. She understands that when you marry someone, you're not just marrying them. You're joining a family, you're inheriting relationships and histories and connections that you can either embrace or fight against. Sarah chose to embrace our family, and now she's as much my daughter as if I had given birth to her myself. The last time I saw Chelsea was at the grocery store about 6 months ago. She was in the hair care aisle, probably trying to find something to help her grow back her hair. When she saw me, her face went bright red, and she turned around and walked away as fast as she could. I didn't follow her, didn't say anything, didn't even acknowledge her, because the truth is, I had already won. I had my son back, I had a new daughter who loved me, and I had proven to myself that I was stronger than anyone trying to tear me down. You see, this story isn't really about shampoo, or glue, or even revenge. This story is about knowing your worth, and refusing to let anyone make you feel less than you are. This story is about the power of truth, and how it always finds a way to surface. This story is about the unbreakable bond between a mother and her child, and how that bond can survive even the most sophisticated attempts to destroy it. And most importantly, this story is about the fact that sometimes, when someone pushes you too far for too long, the universe provides you with exactly the right moment, and exactly the right tools to set things right. I didn't plan for Chelsea to have a meltdown. I didn't plan for her to confess all her crimes. I didn't plan for Tyler to see her true character so clearly. But sometimes, when you take a stand, when you refuse to be a victim, when you fight back with everything you have, the truth has a way of revealing itself in the most spectacular fashion. So to anyone listening, who feels like they're being pushed around, taken advantage of, or underestimated, remember this: you are stronger than you know, you are worth fighting for. And sometimes the best revenge is simply giving someone enough rope to hang themselves with. Or in Chelsea's case, enough fake shampoo to glue themselves to their own hair.
What a story, Virginia! I have to say, in all my years of investigating cases, I've never heard such a perfect example of justice served with such creative flair. Your story proves that sometimes the best detective work happens right in your own bathroom. Folks, if this story moved you, inspired you, or just made you want to be extra careful about what products you borrow, smash that like button right now, hit subscribe, and share this episode with at least 5 people who need to hear about the power of standing up for yourself. Drop a comment telling us where you're listening from, and remember, every story deserves to be heard. I'm Detective Rex, until the next case on our podcast, and stay tuned for 2 more unbelievable cases coming up next.